Okay, Miguel team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having an amazing weekend. In today's video, we are taking a look at the key levels you need to be paying attention to on the macro and the short term moving into the upcoming week. We are also going to be taking a deep dive into the total altcoin market cap, Bitcoin dominance, and the total cryptocurrency market cap, as there are some major warning signs we need to be very much aware of. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you were interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, join us in VIP. We have nearly 700 members. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to all of our group chats, our general chats, our trading chart and education chat, our trade setup, our news, our help, and our daily video chats. Check it out, guys. You can find out more information about our VIP, what you'll get access to, and our entire trading track record spanning back nearly 4 whole years now, 45 months. You can find that in the pinned comment. Click those links or my name to join up, and let's go ahead, guys, and jump on in. So taking a look at the last 24 hours of price action, really not that much has developed for Bitcoin. As you can see, we are seeing a lot of long short-term wicks into this prior high at 69.2, and this level is the exact level of the diagonal support represented by the upper level of our macro descending channel. So you can see Bitcoin is not only retesting this macro descending channel as support, but it is also retesting this prior daily high, that recent rejection from the channel, as an area of potential support. This is going to be leading up to one of two things: a support resistance flip, which could facilitate a continuation, or deviation, which would be incredibly bearish. We'll be discussing that in today's video and what to watch out for. Before we get into all of that, let's move over to the market data. 24-hour volume down 60% at 66 billion. Liquidations at 100 million, down 62%. So we can see a whole lot of reduction in volume and trading liquidations going on as we are in the weekend. 70 million coming from longs and 30 million coming from short positions. Moving over to the DXY is still pushing toward the upside. We outlined two possible scenarios, all of which centered around this horizontal support level. A drop below the support level will result in a correction to these yearly lows on the DXY, which will be incredibly bullish for risk asset markets. However, if we are able to sustain above this level of support, we are now expecting a continuation into the highs, which could add some downside risk for the S&P 500 and for Bitcoin. Moving over to the S&P 500, we can see the weekly candle has closed holding above its weekly high. So overall, a pretty red week for the S&P, but on the macro scale, we are still holding these weekly highs, and while we remain above these weekly highs, we are still bullish. If we look at the entire trend since we turned bullish all the way back in May 2023, we have established these local highs. So we have these higher highs and again these higher lows, and we've been doing this entire way up. Not once have we actually dropped below one of these prior highs and closed the weekly candle under. All of the retests have just been support resistance flips. Nothing we have seen actually break this structure yet. So if we were to see this weekly candle drop below our prior high at 5,680, that would be the first dent in the armor for this macro uptrend. This would be the first sign of actual legitimate weakness we have seen in the entire trend since May 2023. That is something to be aware of and something we are watching very closely, particularly moving into the new week. So a big week is coming for the markets, not only for Bitcoin, but the S&P 500 as well. We also have the US election, which is just around the corner. We know how that has a pretty big chance of causing some large amount of volatility in the market. So looking at Bitcoin, we do have that weekly candle close in 24 hours, and we're going to be discussing that in the video today. Before we get into the analysis, guys, if you do want 15% discounts on your trading fees for life, sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX with the links down below. You'll support me making this content and these daily videos, and you'll support yourself in your trading. That 15% trading fee discount can build up to a 45% discount based on your trading volume. It has saved me well over $100,000 this year alone at trading, and it can save you a hell of a lot as well. So check it out. We'll play an ad and we'll jump into the analysis. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global, non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck in. So starting on this higher time frame chart, and as we said, we have the weekly candle closing in 24 hours time. So in tomorrow's video, we're going to be discussing the implications of that close, but taking a preliminary look at the candle. The candle itself is a very, very ugly candle, right? We've seen this massive move toward the upside. We were unable to sustain above these weekly high points at 71,200, and we have since seen a huge pullback from that region. Now, it is very important to understand that the candle itself, while it remains above the downtrending diagonal resistance of this macro channel, the macro expectations for the price action remain the same. Although we have not seen the validation of that weekly break and thus expected directional continuation immediately, the overall expectation for Bitcoin is still going to be upwards while this channel is able to be flipped toward the upside. So provided this weekly candle is able to close above this macro descending channel, the overall scope of the price action generally has remained the same, besides the fact that we've seen a pretty brutal flush back towards a retesting point of this support level. Moving back to the daily chart, we can see that we are coming down now to retest not only that prior high point on the daily, we're actually breaking into that level of support right over here, but we are also coming down to retest that high time frame diagonal trend line. Now, if we look at the price structure, since momentum turned positive, again, if we look at the RSI in the weekly, the momentum turned positive, we'll draw it in at around mid-September. So it turned positive around about this point over here, and we had again the momentum start to turn upwards from around the mid-August, as again we saw the reduction in volatility on the RSI as the high points and low points started to compress. So we saw bearish exhaustion starting around the start of August, but we officially saw the momentum flip positive around the 9th to 14th of September. So we go to those dates on the daily chart. We can see from around that 14th of August point, that early August point, from that 49k low, we have been establishing higher lows on the price chart pretty consistently for the last 2 and a bit months. We've also been establishing higher highs. Now, if we look at these higher highs, historically during this phase, we have not really seen these prior highs be eradicated, and when we have always established new higher lows. So if we drop below this prior higher high, like we saw over here, okay, like we saw over here, we established these new higher lows. So if we do drop below this current level of support, this horizontal region, this is going to be our invalidation point for the bullish short-term scenario. Meaning, if Bitcoin drops below this high, which is our prior low, we are then expecting a pretty significant correction all the way back into this 60k midline point. Now again, if we're looking at this point here particularly, the reason this level has such significance is not only because it is the midline of the channel, but from a technical perspective, it is going to be the weekly leading span A of the Ichimoku cloud, as well as the upper band of the Gaussian channel. Now, if we look at the historical breakdown points of these levels, historically, when we break into both of these levels, we see macro directional continuations. Okay, we see macro directional continuations toward the downside. We've seen that in every single historical cycle so far. It has been instances where we break in, such as over here, where we break into it, but this is not going to be in the same segment of the cycle we are in at the moment. This is still in accumulation. This is still under the bear market resistance. We are looking at these expansion phases, these quote-unquote bull run phases for macro directional shifts in the trend. So we are watching for breakdowns of those levels, which would signify the price action is potentially topping out. And hence why if we drop below that 60k region, we are actually going to be turning bearish for Bitcoin. Now, we do not think this is likely. We talked about the possibility to spend. We talked about if we drop below this region, we will very likely see a retest. But even if we see a retest, it is highly likely we bounce on that region. However, I do not think this move is likely, but I do want to make everyone aware of it. So if it happens, we understand the implications of that move. I do believe the most likely scenario for Bitcoin is that we are looking to establish a support resistance flip on these daily highs. We are looking for continuations toward the upside. I'd be very, very eager to see how this 24-hour candle daily close occurs if we are able to sustain again this daily high point at 69,000, we are very likely printing a reversal over here for Bitcoin and for the rest of the market. So very much pay attention to that. The next warning sign we do have to bring to your attention is going to be the daily RSI. Again, if the daily RSI breaks down, momentum that has been developing in this uptrend, which is positive, will turn negative and the price action will correct as a consequence. So watch out for that RSI. Essentially, when the RSI turns negative, expect continuations lower. While it is positive, be optimistic and expect reversals and bounces to develop toward the upside. Moving over to the higher time frame, guys, let's go ahead and zoom out. The expectation, like we said, is still that we complete the measured move, which again is targeting around 85,000 for Bitcoin at a minimum. And that is still going to be the expectation, provided the range high is able to be respected. If we deviate below the range high and we invalidate these levels of support, well, then this move is going to be invalidated as well. So a lot rests on the fact that Bitcoin is broken out here, and this level of a breakout is going to be of utmost significance for macro reversals. Let's move over to Bitcoin dominance and the total. There are a few other things I want to take a look at here on the total, which we need to pay very close attention to. The total cryptocurrency market cap, as you can see, broke out and has deviated back below. The total cryptocurrency market cap is a representation of not only Bitcoin, not only Ethereum, but all the altcoins, every coin in the market. It's a general, if you want to have a general overview, is cryptocurrency bullish? Is cryptocurrency bearish? Is it an uptrend? Is it a downtrend? Well, this is a chart you're generally going to take a look at. And this has profound implications, particularly for leading implications of where the market is likely to move to. And one of the things I'm paying very close attention to here is going to be this RSI uptrend. Similar to that on the Bitcoin chart, I'm watching momentum since the retest of the low over here. If we were to see a breakdown on this RSI, it is likely we see the total market cap correct back to that $2 trillion level to find support yet again. Now, at the moment, we are in an uptrend. The momentum is positive. It is likely that we see continuations upwards. But if we do see that RSI flip positive, at a bare minimum, we are going to see a correction to retest this trend line. That is something we do have to pay attention to. Now, altcoins will likely hit the hardest if we do see any sort of deviation on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin deviates under, if the total drops, altcoins will likely get hit hardest as Bitcoin dominance is flying into the 60% region. There are two levels I am watching for the total altcoin market cap. I am watching this diagonal uptrend to hold, and if it breaks, I am watching our lower point of liquidity, our range low on this horizontal consolidation. This is going to be the horizontal consolidation spanning since June. We have got 1 retest, 2, 3, 4. We have 3 on the bottom side, 4 on the top side. We have had multiple retests of this range. If we see the total drop into this region, that is going to be a buying zone. If we close below this region, which we have not done before, that is going to be a selling zone. This is going to be the buying zone with the expected target to be greater than, if not 760 billion. So we are expecting a strong move up from altcoins from there if that level is able to sustain. And again, if we do not see the deviation to the low, if Bitcoin does not deviate below the range, if the total does not drop down and we see altcoins break this range high, we would expect a direct move into around 700 billion first before we then sell off, before we then move another move to 760. So overall, there are 2 levels we are really watching for total altcoin market cap. We are watching this 540 and we're watching this 650, 660 level on the total market cap. Let's move back to the short-term price action, guys. As we can see again, we have this cluster of support, and let's just go ahead and draw this out with a rectangle really quickly. This is kind of going to be our cluster of support. This is our decision zone. You can see it's a zone of indecision, really, because the market is in the weekend. We are moving sideways into economic data. We're moving into the political political presidential election in America, and the market is going to be a little bit hesitant, a little bit risk off in these conditions, which is part and due to the reason we've seen a massive sell-off. I believe a massive sell-off have occurred, not only to come down and, really test the buyers at these levels, test demand at these levels, but also sell off into these elections in case we see, I'm not going to talk about it, but in case we see a scenario play out that is unfavorable for the cryptocurrency market, or at least perceived to be unfavorable for cryptocurrency as a whole, which could then result in a correction. So it's kind of pushing downwards in advance to test demand moving into those events. And it's pretty normal to see this happen when we move into major events that have profound implications over the financial markets, or particularly the individual market that we are looking at or that news can potentially affect. So overall, guys, we are expecting the price action to likely bounce from here. At the lowest, we could see a liquidity grab into 68.4, and then we push upwards. That would probably be worst case scenario for Bitcoin over here, but we do expect an eventual move back into toward the upside, particularly this upper level of liquidity. We're watching around 71.6, and we're watching 72.4, 72.7 as targets. Overall, if we do drop below this level at around 67.6, that would kind of be the nail in the coffin for Bitcoin in the short term, as we would then expect that move into this low point, which is around 66.2, potentially even lower into the 60,000. So essentially it's bounce here or a lot of trouble. And that's kind of what I want to go ahead and talk about today, and what I hope I've expressed in today's video. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Pay attention to those levels. We'll catch you tomorrow for the weekly close and a big week ahead. So keep your risk management about you. Don't overtrade. Don't get emotional. Stay calm. There's always another day in the market. Every day is a new opportunity. Every minute's a new opportunity. The market is, short on a lot of things. But one thing it's got a lot about, it's got a lot of opportunity. So don't feel pressured to take every position you see. Don't feel pressured to be in a trade 24/7. There's always going to be another option. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next video. See you then.